This video introduces control panels, the place to control your lights during a live show. A control panel can contain an unlimited number of buttons and faders which you can freely arrange to fit your needs. The central place for controlling your lights during a show is the live view. Click Live or press Command L to show it. The live view contains a control panel with push buttons and faders, which you can arrange and size at will. Each button or fader controls a cue. To see its contents, right-click a button and choose Get Info. A cue consists of any number of presets and sequences from the preset palette. When we select an item, we see the properties it defines in the preview. The item is also highlighted in the preset palette on the right. To edit a control panel, click the Edit icon. In edit mode, you can drag the buttons around and change their size. To create a new button, click the plus icon. Enter a name and press Return. We compose a cue by dragging presets or sequences from the preset palette to the inspector. It's a good idea to define only one or two fixture properties per preset so they can be combined. To remove a preset, click the X button. Having presets for individual properties also helps to make changes later. The preset called To Center makes all fixtures point to the middle of the stage. If your rig ever changes and you need to realign the beam positions, you only have to update a single preset, and the change affects all cues. As you can see, Lightkey has automatically chosen a green color for the button to match its contents. Another way to create a button is to select some presets and drag them to the control panel. Lightkey automatically names the button after the first preset, but let's choose a different name. To add a preset to a cue, we can also drag it onto a button. A quick way to edit a preset is to right-click the item and choose Edit. Remember that any changes we make affect all cues which use the preset. When we're done, we click the green check mark. Let's look at a third way to create a cue. We build a look by activating a number of presets. We also want a very narrow light beam, but there's no preset for that, so we override the iris property. When we create a button, Lightkey adds the active presets to the cue. It also adds a special item called Ad Hoc Properties, which contains the iris property we overrode. This item is like a preset, except that it doesn't appear in the preset palette. Let's say we want to make the iris angle even smaller. Like before, we right-click the Ad Hoc Properties item and choose Edit. Then, we edit the iris property and click the check mark when we're done. If we want to add a cue's ad hoc properties to the preset palette, we can right-click the item and select Add to Palette. Now we can take the new preset and drag it to another cue to get the same narrow iris effect. It is also possible to add ad hoc properties after a cue has been created. For example, let's assign a gobo to the moving heads. Now we add the gobo property to a cue. Lightkey adds an ad hoc properties item which contains the gobo. To see the properties which a button's cue contains, right-click the button and choose Show Properties. You can activate as many cues as you like, but sometimes it is useful to have a group of cues where only one can be active at a time. To do this, we attach the buttons to each other. Now, when we activate a button, the other buttons in the group are deactivated. We don't have a cue with a sequence yet, so let's add one. The sequence is set up to run only once. When it finishes, the queue automatically deactivates. We can control the sequence speed here. Let's add one more queue, this time with a beat-controlled sequence. This sequence repeats infinitely. For a better overview, control panel buttons can be enclosed in a frame. We select some buttons and click the frame icon. To remove a button from a frame, right-click the button and choose Remove from Frame. To remove the entire frame, choose Remove Frame. In the next video, we'll learn more about control panels and queues and explore the other options in the Queue Inspector.